Hi, I'm Rob Bowerman, and I'm president of the Bowerman Group, and we're a leading executive search firm for luxury brands in North America. And as I was working with several of my clients today, I was struck by the stark differences in two different interview follow-up experiences. So this means the follow-up and conversations that take place between us and the company after one of our candidates is interviewed with that client company. So I've spoken in the past about how positive candidate experiences are going to help you as a hiring authority secure the best person for your open position, as well as ultimately saving time in a more efficient process. But let's drill down on this one key point. What happens in the 24 hours following an interview? So here's these two scenarios, which are real-time examples that happened today. Scenario 1. This client engaged us for a search to fill a newly created senior level director role. So before conducting the search, we met with the decision makers and clearly understood not just the qualifications for the role, but a good 360-degree picture of what was going to be needed for the candidate to be successful. As we moved candidates from round 1 and round 2 to interviews, the client collected feedback from each team member who interviewed our candidate, clearly articulated the pros and the cons to us, and did all this within 24 hours of each interview. So from this feedback, we're able to continue honing the search and partnering with the client to collectively force rank the candidates. Meanwhile, those candidates who have interviewed are having a positive experience, as we're able to provide interview feedback and next steps within 24 hours. So even those candidates not moving forward in the process feel they were treated professionally by both our firm and the company. And meanwhile, the candidates moving forward are excited and motivated with a clear understanding of their fit for the role and a positive impression of how organized and focused the company is. So here's scenario 2. This client is interviewing candidates for a newly opened multi-store leader role. And although the initial conversation regarding specs for the role was pretty complete, the feedback following candidate interviews, which have been received as far out as a week or more from the interview date, is literally, well, he's not a fit, or we'll get back to you once we decide. So you can imagine how this limits our ability to keep candidates engaged and hone the search to deliver those candidates that perhaps are more closely suited to the client's needs if we haven't made the match so far. Now, it's important to note that we are working with HR in both scenarios, human resources, and we do understand the value in partnering with an HR professional to fill the search. However, in scenario 1, there's consistent three-way communication between the hiring authorities, HR, and myself, so we're always on the same page. In scenario 2, we're only allowed to communicate with HR, not the hiring authorities, and we're receiving delayed and often incomplete feedback. So in these recruiting partnerships, which scenario is likely to yield a more positive outcome and ultimately be better for the HR professional that we're working with in filling that important role? We truly do want to partner with human resources, but we can only be as effective as the information and feedback that we're given. So let's consider the minimum time investment that's needed to provide detailed interview feedback and how that's going to ultimately streamline your interview process. It's the definition of penny wise and pound foolish. So consider good communication and feedback, how that's going to keep the momentum going and preserve candidate interest. Strong communication is going to allow a collaborative recruiter such as ourselves who properly screen candidates to better target the right ones quicker. And if needed, it allows us to redirect the search based on new criteria or shifting priorities that happens all the time in the search process. And the candidates, who likely have put a good deal of effort into preparing for the interviews, they feel their time was valued and their efforts were appreciated. And they have a much more positive impression of the company, which may ultimately make the decision to actually move to that company a whole lot easier. So bad communication. It leaves a negative impression that the company is disorganized or simply doesn't value the candidate's time. We can only do so much to smooth over the chaos of a company, and the candidate knows if we're not receiving timely communication or if the process is disorganized. Bad communication just wastes time on search efforts, and it puts us as the recruiter in reactive mode to engage new talent, as we may not fully understand the secret sauce that the company is seeking. And it hurts the company's bottom line in the end. If you want to attract A players, then they need to have a positive experience throughout the interview process. These days with candidates, it's not just about the money. The workforce is all about culture fit and working in environments where their ideas are supported and listened to, and where executives are fostering a positive workplace. So, if you're an interviewer, think of the small investment of time and effort it takes to provide detailed interview feedback following up with your recruiter within 24 hours of the interview. If the interview process is important enough to warrant hours spent by the recruiter that you've hired to research, screen, and present candidates, additional hours taken by your hiring team to schedule and actually conduct the interviews, and the hours spent by the candidate that we as the recruiter have guided toward properly researching the company, then it's worth the 10 minutes needed to gather feedback and articulate it to the recruiter in a timely manner. If you're the hiring authority, just think of this another way. Put yourself in the shoes of the person that you just interviewed and think about how you'd want to be treated. Would you be impressed by your company in the process? Would you be impressed enough to consider leaving your current, probably secure job to join this organization? This is a self-reflection exercise that can have tremendous payoff in helping to secure A players faster. Let's face it, we're in a world where experiences are valued by consumers. We live by our Yelp reviews. And people have so many choices that it's easy to avoid a store, a restaurant, a hotel, or another service that doesn't provide an optimum experience. So it's not a stretch to see how this same filter is going to be applied to the job search process. And interview feedback is a simple and easy but super important component of the interview experience. So if you're interviewing candidates for an open position in your company, take those 10 minutes to gather and communicate interview feedback. I guarantee that it's going to make all the difference in the effectiveness of your process. Thanks for watching this video. I'd be interested to hear your comments. Please give me a call or shoot me an email through the link in this message. Have a great summer, and I'll talk to you again soon.